Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Now, this afternoon, we're returning to the disturbing case of Harriet Amuzu, the 32-year-old woman seen in a viral video being violently assaulted by a man believed to be her husband. Her story has opened a national conversation, really, about domestic violence, institutional failures, and support systems meant to protect vulnerable women and children. Well, the Ministry of Children, Gender and Social Protection have outlined immediate interventions rolled out for Harriet, including psychological support and assistance with her recovery, and admitted to gaps within the social welfare and domestic violence response systems in the country. My colleague Noella Karinyali has been engaging the gender minister herself, Agnes Namamulate, and she has this package.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you look really bright in your blue.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, let's begin with you personally as a woman. When that video of Harriet surfaced on social media, what was your reaction? I'm curious.
It was so disturbing that I couldn't finish watching, and I immediately forwarded it to the CID to help us locate. And then we've been working with them for all this while to ensure that we bring the perpetrator to book. And it's been back and forth. And I think the way we were all outraged, the same way the impact on Harriet, you can't describe it. She's so traumatized. At this level, you might think that she will get used to the abuse. But this one, I think stripping her naked and it's going viral, it's a bit more traumatic for her. And so it's not easy for her. But I hope that with the psychosocial support and other social protection support that will be given her, she'll be able to overcome.
And we know that you have stepped in, like you mentioned earlier, when you saw the video, you forwarded it to the CID. But as a ministry, what has been done so far?
As a ministry, you know, this falls under DV, and then the care for the children is under the social welfare. And so for starting with DV, yesterday they moved the lady to safety, and this morning the police went for her to assist with the investigations, and they've started the psychoanalysis, and then they will know the needed support to give her. And so we took her to professional shelter, and once we are done with that, it doesn't end there. The social welfare is trying to get custody of the children, and it's being hide and seek with the family. So let me put it out there: anybody who has information on the whereabouts of the children, just like they were benevolent enough to let us have information on what was happening to Harriet, we plead with them to do the same and let us locate the children, because 0 to 8 years is the formative years. And from the narration and what we gather so far, they've been so exposed to abuse, and they need to go through, you know, some support so that they don't find abuse as normal. Otherwise, we'll have a cycle repeating itself with the children. And it's not the best. The environment we found, yesterday I was there myself, I was in the home myself, and it wasn't the best of situation. Those around the woman seem to have the same orientation, that when a woman talks too much, she has to be beaten. Wow. Yes.
Same home?
Yes. And if they are watching me, they know what I'm talking about. And so it will be difficult to allow these children to grow up in that environment, especially without the guidance of a mom. So we are working hard to make sure that we get the appropriate support for the children. Apparently, they are not even allowing the children to go to school. And so today, they were not even in school. So we'll do our best to protect the children. We are by law mandated to do that. And so we'll do exactly that. Aside that, the ministry will also go through the processes of reinstating her. So economic empowerment and other supports that will come, social intervention that will come to her. When we do an assessment with her, we'll work with her lead, what she desires to do. We'll give her options where she's a bit blank. We can give options, and then she will go in with what she wants, and then we'll support her to reinstate her into society.
Talk more on, and I'm particularly excited that you did mention that after whatever process she's going through is exhausted, you're going to empower her economically, because one of the things that we learned or have come to understand from an eyewitness is that this is a woman who was denied by her husband or supposed husband of any economic empowerment. And so for me, I am particularly excited. But you also did mention that you have met her, you've interacted with her, not only her, people in her family. What is she like? What is Harriet like?
Oh, Harriet, I would say from what I observed and from what the witnesses around said of her is a very industrious person. And so one of the things she confessed, and those around confessed, lured her into following the man, was the fact that he was going to help her economically set up, which she's been denied for years. Even though the initial stages, what he promised, he did it, but only to withdraw it after a while. I would say that it's a brief encounter, and so whatever I'm saying is subjective. So I also gathered that she's quite intelligent and articulate. That is what I gathered about Harriet. Yes.
Did she tell you how she met this man?
Yes, and there were witnesses who confirmed. I mean, they met at her place, a former place of work. And so I think everybody confessed that her physical appearance has deteriorated. And there are so many scars with stories of abuse and violence and all that. She's 32 years. If you see her elder sister, you will see that the elder sister looks younger, much younger than her. And everybody around her says that she was a beautiful woman. Even now you see she's a pretty lady. Yeah.
And by any chance, did she recount to you what specifically triggered this, cycle of abuse for her and this man?
I think, with these things, they are there. They give us the warning signs. Sometimes, except that we are so much in love that we make excuses for each and every sign that we see. But the red flags are usually there. And so you will see the person will do something, you give an excuse, and then it repeats itself. And then when the actual physical violence starts, in fact, the worst one is the emotional ones. Psychologically, they deprive you of these, and you make excuses for every little one of them. And then when the physical abuse starts, they will come back with gifts, apologize, and you think that, it is okay, and then they go back to the beating again. These things over and over again, there's been studies to show that they never end. So when you see the first red flag, it's better you pay attention to it and take a decision.
So currently, where is Harriet?
Without saying specifically where she is, I would say that she's safe in a shelter.
And so you did mention that she's going through certain processes. Do you want to rehash on it? What specific? I know that you say that. Have you given her any counselors? Are they talking to her?
Yeah, the place we took her does a lot of professional work. They do the assessment, and so this morning, before she was even given to the police, the police had to wait for them to do their initial professional assessment before they allowed her to.
It's good you mentioned the police bit, because there also this morning there were reports that she was arrested, and so we needed some clarity on it, because some portals were reporting that she had been picked up by the police.
There was an agreement yesterday. It was too late because they need, according to the police, they need her to assist with the investigations, and so you can't hold her for longer than necessary. And so this morning, like I said, we had an agreement that yesterday was late, so this morning they can go and have access to her. And so once the protection is there, I think it is okay. She's not under any arrest. She's not under arrest.
Thank you so much for clarifying. Let's talk about the suspect or the perpetrator in this case. We know that he has been remanded by a court, but as a ministry, what are we also doing to ensure that we get justice? We follow this the story to the latter and ensure that justice is served.
This story, like other stories, let me say, are of great concern to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And it will not be in anybody's interest to do any other thing than serve justice, true justice. If anyone tries, I think that the president will not be happy with it. Anything to do with violence, abuse, especially of vulnerable people, he doesn't take lightly to that. And so, like many others that has come to his attention, this one is no exception. And so every stakeholder involved is trying our best, to make sure that justice is served. The court processes have begun, and we are hoping that they will look at it not just from the criminal, the DV Act, which is undergoing amendment or review, but from the criminal part of it, the Criminal Act, and give the maximum sentence once the culprit is found guilty.
Right. Now let's look at the story in a broader perspective. One would argue that it sort of also highlights the existing gaps in the country's social welfare system, especially when it comes to domestic violence. And I say that because in her account, she had mentioned that the abuse had started, has been going on for a while, and she had reported the case uncountable times to the police, but got nothing to do with it. What have you observed personally as minister of this, ministry? Have you observed any gaps, and how do you intend to address them?
Thank you very much. Sometimes I equate what happens under circumstances like this as being in a church, being a good Christian, prayerful and all that, and automatically everybody thinks that you'll be a good counselor because you have a good understanding of religious practices and all that. But it is not enough to qualify you as a counselor. A Christian, you are accepted and all that, but it's not enough to qualify you as a counselor. And so we keep training. We organize training sessions with all DOFSU officials. And there's some gaps. And sometimes people with their own orientation go into this profession and think that this is how traditionally things are supposed to be. I would say that not all are like that. You will meet some that are very professional in their work. And so they will give you the needed support to ensure that you get justice. It's unfortunate from her narration that this is her experience. It took us a while to build trust. In fact, when I was called, I had to give her assurance on the phone that everything was going to be okay. And she had the nation's backing. Nobody was going to harm her. And that was how she was able to stay till I got to her. And so you will meet people who are not professionals. We meet them in all fields. I'm not going to make excuse for anybody. All of us, once in a while, we meet people who don't meet up to standard or expectations. And I believe that it's about time we keep an eye on it, because it can cause somebody a lifetime injury.
So then, what are we doing on the community level? Because you mentioned yourself earlier that you had interacted with some of the community members. They had told you that as for a woman, if you talk too much, you must be beaten. And it's this same community that would integrate people into the society so they further become policemen and other members of the society. So on the community level, what are we doing to ensure that issues of these and the conversations and the orientations around them are addressed?
Aside the policy level work we do, the ministry with its partners, development partners and CSOs, we do a lot of sensitization. So it is out of awareness that we are having lots of these cases being reported. And what I say, in fact, the story I shared wasn't from just the community, it was from a family member. Somebody, an elderly person who is supposed to know better, is from that person. And so it is good that at least that there are people within the community who knows that what is happening is not normal. Like the person who recorded and then sent the video out. So we'll continue with the community sensitization and then avail ourselves for people to report, and then we work with the relevant bodies to ensure that perpetrators are brought to book.
I mean, since you mentioned the person who recorded the video, let's talk about them as well. We have been able to step in and we've gotten the victim. How about the person who recorded the video? Because we know that there were reports about her life. I don't know whether there were two or it's just one person, but we heard that they were in danger as well. What have been done? What has the ministry done for them?
Okay, so she needs protection now. And so the police is providing the protection needed. Afterwards, it is about she relocating and then, settling in a more conducive and peaceful environment. And that's one day, together with the police, we'll see what will be done.
So the shelters. Do we have any logistical support for these shelters? I mean, the last time we had a conversation, you did mention the vice president was here, and I remember you were lobbying to get her to get some money that would probably be used to fund the women's. Is it the Women's Bank? I've forgotten exactly the details, but I remember you were lobbying for some money to invest into these shelters and all of that. Where have you gotten to with that?
Okay, so His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic, before becoming the president, ahead of his swearing, had promised the people of Ghana that he was going to put up 16 shelters. And we are working so hard. Usually with the domestic violence or abuse shelters, we don't expose them to the public. But with the aged and even trafficking, we don't expose. And so we are working so hard to get the shelters constructed. And I believe that it will serve a good purpose. Yeah. So
currently, for women that have to deal with domestic violence, or probably are experiencing even more harsher, experiences than Harriet did, what are the things in place? What do they do? How do they come forward? What are the institutions or numbers or whatever they can do to ensure they get some help?
So everyone going through one form of abuse or the other, or experiencing violence, very soon we are entering into our 16 days of activism against, gender-based violence and any form of violence. I can assure them that there's help out there. There is support. Don't keep quiet. Let's break that culture of silence and then speak up. Speaking up and coming out will help somebody who is in a similar situation or even worse. So I will urge them, come out, speak up, and let's support you to get the needed help. For the ministry, we have a helpline, or we have helplines, and then the police also have theirs. But for the ministry, we have 0800 800 800. We have 0800 900 900. And then we also have 0800 111 222. So if you call these helplines, we'll be able to assist you to safety. Or you can report at the nearest police station just to keep safe there.
Because you mentioned, I was just about to wrap up, because again, this is my last question to you. Because you mentioned the police again, I'm going to refer back to Harriet's case. For people that probably have also reported to the police and got no response, should these policemen face sanctions in your opinion?
Yes, especially with the report narration from Harriet. I know the CID is going to investigate to find out what the truth is, and anybody found wanting will be brought to book. That's much they have assured us, and so we are looking at they keeping their word and then going into the full-fledged. In fact, what made us believe it some way, somehow, is the fact that there were witnesses who had even gone there with her. So it was difficult to say, it was untruth. And so once the investigations are done, we'll know what to do. If they have to take them out of that place, because not everybody can stomach the kind of emotional issues that come working with violence or abuse victims. Not everybody. It's traumatic. And so at certain times, you have to also check your mental state. So I am expecting and counting on them that they will do their investigations, and it will be a deterrent to others who are also on that path or tangent.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for speaking to us, and we'll be following keenly, because this is a special case. It's one that has caught the attention of the public, and so we will be following you keenly to ensure that together we can help get justice for Harriet Amuzu. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Let me take you now to African University of Communications and Business here in Accra to bring you a lecture. We've just been hearing from a key member of the NPP, the former chairperson of the NPP, Paula Foko, is delivering a lecture this afternoon on civic courage, speaking up, standing out, and making a national impact. Let's take you there live.
So I believe very strongly that the future belongs to those who refuse to be swallowed by the crowd. As I said earlier about the chorus, the future belongs to those who will say, how high? But, who will say why, not how high. So you, the young ones, must understand that conformity kills potential. It kills innovation. It kills progress. And justice from those who come to dare to be different. To make a national impact is the other part of this whole discussion. Impact is not measured by titles or positions. Impact is measured by the courage to shape history rather than let history shape you. You don't have to be Honorable Minister, Honorable Vice President, Honorable Excellency President. His Royal Majesty. They don't shape history as such, and they don't actually impact it. It's because they stand there. It is everybody else, you, who think that you are nobody. You are the most important people. So don't go around thinking that impact requires that you attain high office. Don't. You can make an impact. And history is full of those examples of teachers, writers, journalists, students, ordinary citizens who reshaped nations. Impact comes from intentional action guided by integrity and courage. Look, I'll give you an example. And that example is not something I would want any of you to emulate. But how many of you remember the Arab Spring? I'm sure a lot of you here do. The Arab Spring. What triggered it? It was just a simple person on the streets selling vegetables who was mistreated, maltreated by authority. And in protest, he engaged in self-immolation, i.e., he doused himself with petrol and set fire to himself. That was the trigger. Because there was already latent in that society pent-up emotions. So many things going on. And everybody was silent. There was no one to speak up. If there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 100 voices speaking up, that desperate man wouldn't have to speak up by pouring petrol on himself and lighting the fire. So you don't need to be in high office. Your voice counts. Your views matter. As long as you are principled. Practical strategies for leadership, ethical leadership. I think the first one is that you have to develop an informed voice. Informed voice. Please, as the saying goes, I mean, I heard it and I took it to mean somebody who wanted to look down on black people because they had to find a way to denigrate us at all times. That if you want to hide something from the black person, hide it in a book. Because they don't read. How many of you have come across that? A lot of you. So, read widely. Understand the issues. Knowledge will then strengthen your courage. Knowledge. Knowledge. These words are very profound. Let me give you an example. When you leave here, you meet somebody who will say, oh, do you know Ntim Fordjour? Oh, yes, I know him. Do you? You don't. You just met me. We've met him. I've met him. I know of him, but I don't know him. Knowledge. Knowledge. Now, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Knowledge will strengthen your courage. Whatever the topic, whatever you are looking at, your knowledge of it will give you the courage because you will have that conviction to say, this is what it's all about, and I stand by that. You should separate partisanship from patriotism. Love of country must always be greater than loyalty to any party. I was once the chairman of a political party, as you heard. And so when I tell you that love of country must supersede your partisan political homes, I'm saying this as somebody who has knowledge of it. Anybody who goes into politics, oh, I am an elephant, I am an umbrella holder, I am a cockerel, I am Kube, I am... And you think that the political party you follow supersedes your country's interest, then you have no business going into politics. Then you better stay at home. Better stay at home. The country must always come first, no matter what. No matter what. We can talk about that later. You must be ready to hold leaders accountable respectfully. Respectfully. I'll give you a simple example. And in order not to go personal, you can, for example, I'll be sitting here, you walk in to see me, and I really don't want you in my space because I have something else I want to do. I can ask you very politely, oh please, can you wait for me outside? When I'm ready, I'll see you. I have respectfully ushered you out. At the same time, I could just sit there and say, what are you here for? You're coming to disturb me. Come, hey, secretary, why do you let this man here? Go out. Is there any respect? No. Same with leaders. Same with leaders. That's why I've given you this. In my personal experience, I've had to go through it with leaders, where I've had to be very respectful, but say it unequivocally that this is wrong. Can you convince me that you are right? Or, sir, with all due respect, have you considered this alternative? That way you don't... You see, leaders... You see leaders out there, and you see them as, hey, but they have the most fragile egos. They are very fragile. The smallest thing can trigger them and hurt them, and then they will want to show you where power lies. It's because their egos are so fragile. Emotional cretins. So basically, you have to be very respectful when you see something going wrong, and you must speak up. Because as I told you earlier, speaking up can be very expensive. It can cost you prison without trial and cost you 20 years of your life living among strangers when your family is somewhere else. So speak respectfully. But speak. That's the main thing. Make your point. Because it is your patriotic duty to do that. You should build credibility, all of you, through consistency. People will trust leaders who are stable, predictable, and value-driven, values-driven. So, if you are a leader of TESCOM, a leader of TAIN, a leader of whatever, if your membership doesn't see you as consistent. Today you have this position, tomorrow you have that position, the next day you are in the center, and you are always finding excuses, not reasons, excuses. Then you cannot actually engender serious confidence and trust in those who look up to you. So please, be consistent. That is where your credibility will come from. Use your voice responsibly. Speak to build, not to destroy. Critique to improve, not to insult. So you see, these days, some people have gained their national fame, or is it notoriety, or infamy, by going on radio, TV, insulting. Even where they could make a point without insults. The thunder of their voice. There's an East African proverb that says, the thunder of your voice has obscured your message. The thunder of your voice has obscured the message. The insult that you will hurl, the abuse that you will hurl, actually, that is what people hear and impacts them. Your message, which may very well be following that abuse and insult, those decibels, the message is lost. So please do that respectfully. If you are criticizing, respectfully, without necessarily insulting and abusing, and you will make your point. You will be heard. As for courage, I would say that before you confront national issues, start confronting your small individual issues courageously. There is a certain prayer, and this prayer is actually something that I think I came across it in my early years. And it was asking God to give me the courage. I think a lot of you know it. It's a serenity prayer. Grant me the courage. Grant me the knowledge to be able to discern. You grant me the courage to speak the truth. Knowledge to recognize what the truth is. And also to be able to know the difference between what is good and what is bad. So I know that I don't speak to hurt. I speak to help. I speak to build, not to destroy. You can easily destroy somebody, their confidence, their plans for the future, by the way you handle them. If you do it properly, if it is criticism, they will understand. And it will be encouraging. If you do it wrongly, you could shatter them for life, destroy their self-confidence. One of the things I would also want to add to the practical steps is that you must guard your values from divisive politics. Values. You see, values, like emotions. You can't have an emotion that is wrong or is right. If somebody says, I am angry, you can't tell them that you are wrong to be angry. You can't say that. The anger is an emotion. If somebody is happy and they are laughing, you can't say, you are wrong to be happy. So the same with values. If you hold your values, informed values, then you must guard your values against divisive politics. And when I say divisive politics, I'm talking about tribal politics, because tribalism does shrink our nation's space. And it weakens our collective purpose. As young leaders, your duty is to rise above these limiting identities and choose instead the larger identity of patriotism. When you do that, you become active custodians of the Ghana that our founding fathers dreamed of. Not spectators, but builders of that promise. Small acts of integrity prepare you for large moments of courage. The price of courage is painful. It may cost you your friends. It may cost you opportunities. It may cost you comfort. And sometimes your safety. But cowardice also has a cost. Cowardice costs the soul of a nation. All throughout the history of Ghana, our so-called, our short political journey, because Ghana is so young comparatively. We heard of culture of silence, we heard all that silence and cowardice. When citizens fear speaking the truth, democracy becomes hollow. It just becomes a phrase. When leaders act without accountability, then governance weakens. Courage strengthens nations. Cowardice weakens them. So the role of you, the young ones, the young leaders, the future, our future, Ghana's future. You see, my future is now. Your future is yet to come. It's tomorrow and after. Your role as students of this university, you are the future script writers of Ghana's narrative. And I don't mean you are going to sit down and write scripts. I mean how you live, the courage you show, the knowledge you show, standing up. That is the script. That is the script. It's not writing something for you to go and sit and read in front of a camera. How you live your lives, the courage you show, everything that I've been talking about so far, that's Ghana's script being written. You have to write your script. I've just stood here and spoken about a very small microcosm of Ghana's script that I was part of to this point. You guys have to do the rest. It's ahead of you. You are the next generation of political communicators. You are the next generation of public policy thinkers and practitioners, I must add. You will be the journalists. You will be the creators of content. You will be civic leaders. You will be cultural influencers. And I dare say that the question before you is not whether Ghana will change from what it is today. The question is, will you be courageous enough to shape that change? To be the opinion leaders, those who will form that opinion, and to shape the change. Will you be it? Remember, I told you it hasn't got party colors. Whatever you are doing, going into the future, it's Ghana. No party colors. Courage is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is the courage to ask a difficult question, to disagree respectfully, to bring new thinking, or to challenge accepted norms in the interest of the nation, not in the interest of your party. Democracy survives not because a few leaders are courageous, but because millions of citizens refuse to surrender their responsibility. Responsibility. Remember that. A nation that does not speak its truth slowly loses its soul. If you don't speak the truth, you will slowly lose your soul. Because incrementally, as you learn to self-regulate, zip it up, famanyami, later, gradually, you are losing something. And collectively as a nation, you'll be losing your country, your nation. So I ask you, you the ones here and those outside, the youth, the future of our country, please, may you keep Ghana's soul alive, please. May you speak up when silence is easier. To just see it, keep quiet and walk away. No, if it needs that you speak up, but respectfully. And may you have the courage to stand out when conformity is tempting. Just conform and go with the crowd. Please, may you have that courage. And may you make an impact that will outlive your time on earth. I thank you all and God bless you.
Paula Foko there just delivering a lecture at AUCB. Some of the key highlights, he says that it's imperative that we speak up when silence is easier. He's urging the public to put patriotism ahead of partisanship. And he's also saying that we should have the courage to stand out when conformity is actually easier. Some of the highlights of that public lecture. You can watch the full thing on all our social media handles. We're Joy News on TV. You're still watching The Pulse. We'll be back with more. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. To other stories now, government has affirmed its commitment to ensuring the completion of the Bonkra Inland Port Project, a major trade infrastructure expected to transform shipping and cargo handling in the northern part of the country. This assurance was given by the Deputy Chief Executive Officer in charge of operations at the Ghana Shippers Authority, Prince Harry Ankra, during a familiarization visit to the project site. According to him, the inland port remains a key priority in Ghana's logistics and transportation development agenda. And Abuachi Adam has more in the following report.
The Buankra Inland Port Project, when fully operational, is expected to become a major logistic hub connecting the Ashanti region to major ports and neighboring countries. The familiarization visit by the Ghana Shippers Authority sought to assess progress on the ongoing construction and reinforce government support towards its timely completion. According to the Deputy CEO for the Shippers Authority in charge of operations, Prince Henry Ankra, the government is committed to the completion of the port project.
Of course, I think the government is very committed to this project and to ensure that it's commissioned to serve the purpose for which it was brought forth. For us as Shippers Authority, every month we do what we call a Shipper Committee meeting. We thought it wise that since the shippers are the ones who is going to benefit from this project, it is important that we bring them here to come and assess things for themselves and to see what we've been able to do, to be able to accomplish. This is a project for them, and this is also a cargo driven. And for the cargo to come, it means that it will be coming from the shippers. So it was important that they come and see, assess things for themselves to see how far we've come, and to also have an opportunity to engage with the managers of the project to ask questions for themselves and to see what we've been able to do and what is left for us to do.
Project consultant Dr. John Bernard Cranton York disclosed that ongoing works remain on track in line with the project's expectations.
Yes, in terms of the scope and then the way we have faced the project, works is going as expected, but we think that we can increase the momentum from now onwards based on there are certain due diligence and things that has been completed, and therefore the road is now clear for us to move on. Government also has indicated to us that we should continue the project. So very soon, I know there are some outstanding payments which Shippers Authority is working seriously to make the contractor have some money to continue the project. But in terms of the output, the contractor has the capacity to do more than we have seen now.
Dr. York highlighted completed elements of the facility, including foundational infrastructure, drainage systems, and portions of internal road networks as significant milestones already achieved.
We've done the terminal, the operational area. We are raising the structures, and then most of the road network I think we've completed most of them. One of the things we are going to do is the interchange, which would help us have easy access to the site. You could see the simulation that we did. So we've done the geotechnical investigation. We've realized that the bedrock is not very, very deep, and I think it will also have impact on cost. But we've done all the concept. We've had discussion with Ghana Highway Authority. They've agreed. We've selected an option based upon which we will do the designs and then give it to the contractor.
Some shippers present during the visit shared their excitement about the progress of the project.
And with 50%, like you rightly mentioned, I think it's going to go a long way to, also help, exporters. As I speak with you, on a yearly basis, we are doing around 1,700 containers. And if I don't have to transport the containers all the way from Kumasi to Tema, but I'm able to do it from just that short distance, I think it will go a long way to help exporters.
For Joy News, Nana Boachi Dankwe Yadom, Kumasi.
The GAF. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Now, we have a special conversation coming up. I have with me in the studio the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, Reverend Ntim Fordjour, joining us in the studio. The minority have raised quite a number of concerns, and we'd just like to flesh out some of them. Key among them, the concerns about LGBTQ and the bill so far. They have some concerns. We'll put that to him this afternoon on The Pulse, as well as the recruitment exercise. The minority raised some concerns, and key among them, that controversy about resourcing the Ghana Armed Forces and the procurement of some jets. So let's delve right into it. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. Great. Let's start with your concerns about the LGBTQ bill. You are of the opinion that this administration is trying to stifle the whole bill. Why exactly is that?
Clearly, it's very disappointing that NDC is running away from the bill, the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, which we all joined forces, bipartisan, and passed it in the 8th Parliament, but unfortunately could not complete the entire processes for assent. A lot of legal battles. There was a lot of politics NDC did, in particular with this bill. So the expectation was that the moment they get into office, they were even going to present, a government-sponsored bill. We are in the 11th month, nothing of that sort had happened. The beginning of the year, in February specifically, I led a team of my colleagues, 10 of us, we submitted the same bill, Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2025. It went through all the processes in Parliament, Speaker, Clerk. It went all the way for gazetting. And the moment you gazette a bill, the next step is that automatically appears on the order paper. It is presented and laid for first reading. It indeed appeared at the beginning of this meeting, the third meeting of this 9th Parliament. There were a lot of controversies. They took it out Nicodemously, rather shamefully. They removed it. It had never happened that you advertise a matter on an order paper and it's removed the next day. But it was done.
What explanation was given?
The explanation the majority leader gave was that they didn't know about the bill and they thought that the bill was already passed and President Mahama should sign it and it shouldn't have to be, recommenced in Parliament.
And the Speaker ruled
the Speaker gave a ruling that there's nothing wrong with the bill. It has to be submitted in the shape and form and the processes we had undertaken was to write.
But the Speaker also disagreed with the fact that because the 8th Parliament passed the bill, the process should not be triggered all over again. The Speaker was of the opinion that we would have to start the process all over because it's a new Parliament.
Yes, and the Speaker, yes, just as you said, rightly so, that the processes will have to begin. It's a fresh introduction, but it's not expected that it would delay and go through a lot of scrutiny because all the work had been done and this finished product just going through the mill again. So the expectation was that immediately after Speaker's ruling, if indeed, even not for rhetorics, and NDC was truly committed to passing this bill, they should have quickly reintroduced it on the order paper the next day. But Faustina, it's been 6 weeks since the Speaker gave this ruling. And every week we go and approve another business statement by the chairman of the business committee, the majority leader. They have always run away from featuring that bill. So today I raised it on the floor.
As one of the leading members of the NPP and also one of the leading proponents of that bill, you can raise it.
So I raised it at 2 occasions this morning in Parliament and raised it very forcefully and demanded that it should be featured immediately. But of course, they are still adamant. And as we speak, they failed to amend the order paper. They failed to amend the business statement in the ensuing week to have it taken. So the question we're asking Speaker of Parliament is that was his ruling going to be an empty ruling? Is he allowing the business committee and the chairman of the business committee, the majority leader, to just flout his ruling, complete disregard for the ruling of the Speaker? And if indeed the Speaker meant his ruling, he would have directed that it appears. So it is just mind games NDC is playing. The other day we heard President Mahama indicating that he is ready if Parliament, he gave a condition, if Parliament is able to pass a bill, then he would sign. So their strategy...
onus lies on you, Parliament, to do your job.
So
as minority, what will you do to fast-track the process?
So Faustina, the Parliament, the strategy NDC is using is that now President Mahama is hiding behind the Speaker and the majority leader. So if they are able to block the bill from being laid, then it doesn't get passed and it doesn't get to him to sign. So we are telling Ghanaians that if 93% of Ghanaians who truly find this bill the cure to the canker of LGBT that is devastating, that is destroying our norms and our culture, and that is affronting our values, they must speak up so that the President, the Speaker of Parliament, and the majority leader will see the urgency to reintroduce the bill on the order paper for Parliament to undertake the consequential passage. So we are demanding that wherever they've taken the bill to, they cannot play mind games any longer. Enough of the rhetorics. Let it be registered on the order paper so that Tuesday we lay it, then the processes will begin.
As ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee, I'm sure you're interested in the recruitment exercise ongoing currently. The minority, you told us you police the whole process. How far with that?
Yeah, indeed, it was very sad. My condolences to all the families of the 6 that have passed very, very sadly, avoidably, and those that are those who are wounded and are fighting for their lives. Indeed, when we visited them at 37, it was really, really sad things we saw. Our heart, goes out to them, our sympathies to the families and all the bereaved families and those that are recuperating. It is sad, but you see, for when such sad incidents occur, the first thing that people will call for is that there must be consequences, there must be accountability, there must be people resigning, there must be people terminated or sacked. But I think...
We've heard that this administration have asked the leadership that organized the recruitment to step aside. I'm also informed that it instituted a board of inquiry to look into how best it can do this moving forward.
Our approach is that this will not be an occasion for partisan considerations. This will not be an occasion for us to do politics with the very sad incident people have passed. But we are looking at it from the minority. We are looking at it as an opportunity, rather painfully and regrettably, rather unfortunately, as an occasion to insist on reforms. Reforms that will ensure never again will this happen. You can terminate, you can sack, you can call for the heads of A, B, C, D, but at the end of the day, what we are interested in is the reform taking place. And so I would want to wish that the public will come along with us on this particular matter. We are going to ensure we exercise our oversight, we demand accountability, we demand that the right things are done, we demand the right measures are put in place.
What measures would be right
but
in
at the
this
moment,
situation?
The military is undertaking their board of inquiry.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll get opportunity to meet the leadership of the acting minister for defense, the chief of defense staff, and the service chiefs, so that they apprise us as to the status of the investigation so far, and for us to be able to chip in 1 or 2. But right from the beginning, when the incident happened, we all came together and supported. We made suggestions. So far, we've seen that they are following those suggestions. We said that they should halt it and they should decentralize further in highly populated centers and overly subscribed regions like Greater Accra region and Ashanti region. They have heeded to that. Yesterday, my colleagues joined the soldiers, inspected, and indeed we were satisfied with the reform that had started being implemented. They had scheduled potential recruits across various centers in about 8 different centers, 4 venues, but they've split them, scheduled them, and
So you're pleased with the process? So
far, all the excesses and all the inefficiencies and the failures we saw associated with the first process and the batch, sending out 21 test messages to 21 potential soldiers who gather in a single day at a single place. All that had been revised, and so we want to commend the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General William Japan, and his team, Army Commander, the Air Force, Chief of Naval Staff, Chief of Air Staff, and Chief of Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces for heeding to those calls and suggestions we put forth. So we are going to support them, and we are going to ensure that we safeguard the lives of potential recruits. But beyond the short-term measures we put in place, we're satisfied with. We want to see a long-term sustainable recruitment policy, which by the time we are done with our engagement with them, we'll be able to firm up formidable reforms that will ensure very decent, orderly, and efficient recruitment process that will be all year round, so that we don't have to wait until, if we obtain financial clearance, for instance, we'll have to program it around the year, so that if every month you can have dedicated recruitment centers. Every region can have their dedicated recruitment centers, even if we can possibly, further extend the decentralization to districts, so that you can just walk in at any time and then ensure you go online, you fill in your details, you set aptitude tests. When you pass, you proceed to medicals and the subsequent processes seamlessly, so that this becomes a thing of the past. So let us use this opportunity whilst we grieve our daughters who have sadly passed, to be able to make changes that will work well for the Ghana Armed Forces.
As we wrap up the conversation, let's look at another key concern the minority has when it comes to the procurement of helicopters and jets for the Ghana Armed Forces. You've raised concerns about it. The last time we came up on the floor, Samuel Abujinapo and the majority leader went back and forth as regards to the exact amount. But you've always been pushing for the retooling of the Ghana Armed Forces. You should be pleased as the minority. Why are you kicking against this?
We have always been very excited, and we have been advocating when we're in power and even when we came into opposition. NPP side, we have always been consistent that let us support our security agencies, not only Ghana Armed Forces, not only the military. Let us resource, the Ghana Police Service, let us resource immigration, let us resource fire service, let us resource prison service, let us resource Narcotics Control Commission. Every relevant agency within our national security architecture ought to receive optimum funding and resourcing. That has been our position. With regards to the assets of the Ghana Air Force, you remember in this country, the NDC made it a taboo to even raise an issue about going to modernize the fleet of Ghana Armed Forces. They made it a taboo to suggest that conversations should be had around buying a befitting plane for the Air Force that will carry the president around and the soldiers around.
So it's politics.
And yeah, they did politics. We said we will not do politics.
And now you're doing politics as well. Kicking against it.
Who has kicked against it from our side? Nobody has.
You raised concerns about the amount we're using.
Nobody has kicked against it.
So you agree with this administration?
What we are saying is that we said that we need one befitting presidential, an aircraft for the Air Force that would assist in presidential travels. Just one.
Okay.
They resisted it. They opposed it openly. They threatened, and indeed they did it. But they come into office. They insisted that the Falcon was in pristine condition. They come into office, and in less than 1 year, they are proposing to buy 2 luxury jets. In addition to the Falcon that has returned, to have 3 luxury jets. And we are saying just one is enough. Just buy 1 new one. The old one can be returned, and then you top up for a befitting jet for the Air Force to carry the just one is okay. Why oppose one and call for 3 at the expense of the taxpayers' money?
Okay.
Over $1.2 billion we're told. And so that is what we are saying, that let us be sensitive to Ghanaians. You cannot oppose 1 presidential jet and now call for 3 luxury presidential jets within a space. But we support retooling of the Ghana Armed Forces.
I see.
But let us prioritize the battle readiness of the Ghana Armed Forces, not prioritizing the luxury travels of the people in power.
Reverend Ntim Fordjour, my guest in the studio. I appreciate your time. And that's how we'll wrap up the Pulse. We look forward to a wonderful weekend. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs. My name is Faustina Safo. Good afternoon.